Good morning. Welcome to Secrets from the Inside. Here is Greg Meekin. It's a special day today. I'm coming to you live from Arizona. I'm Val, and this is Greg. Greg, where are you this morning?
Well, goodness gracious. I'm also in Arizona. You're in Arizona. I can see the sun behind you. Anyhow, it's so funny. Everybody up north, they get like 2 days of nice weather. They think they're great. We get it every day in Arizona.
Yes, we
I'm
do.
Arizona City. You are somewhere else in Arizona. Before I want to make a scene before we start, I want to have you show the viewers your Arizona sweater because we wear sweaters in the morning. We're so cool. It was only
Yes.
like, there we go, there we go.
Yeah. Yeah,
We might.
just in the morning here because it's a little cool out this morning.
That's right.
It is. Yeah,
That's
it
right.
is. This
The
way.
overnight low last night was 65. I don't do Celsius.
Yes.
65, so it was a little chilly, but then it warms up and we'll be a high of 87 today. So there you go. I love the sweater. Maybe we can market that down the road. Love the flag, Clarice. Love the flag. This is episode 0034 of Secrets from the Inside. That is my brand, my product for the last 35 years, just kind of renewing it on a live stream, that newfangled live stream. Before it was Twitter Spaces was the game in
Mhm.
town, but here we go. This is Val Olson. I'm Greg Meekin. We have about as cool a guest coming on today. His name is L. Gordon Kessler, and that is spelled L period Gordon Kessler. I do that for two reasons. I spell stuff, Val, because mainly not only because people want to search it immediately. Go ahead and search this guy. We only want to do birthday wishes today. But L. Gordon Kessler, you also spell stuff for closed captioning. All of my YouTube videos always have closed captioning because more than half of my audience is deaf or close to or thereabouts or hearing impaired. Anyhow, so I'm thrilled to have Gordon Kessler on. He's the Ronald Reagan, Donald Trump, okay, of Alberta
Yes.
politics. He's the guy, okay. Here we go. Here we go. I can't wait to get him on here, but it's my show, so I'm going to take about 2 minutes here. I met this guy 3 years ago. Everything was 3 years ago after March 17th, 2022. The Mike Phillips days, the Ben Alberta days, the goodness, Gordon Kessler. And I identified, because I like to, in life, go to the top, I
Right.
identified the number one Alberta, USA separatist.
Yes.
Forget Alberta, on the planet. And so I identified him. I reached out to him. I think he said, "Who's this guy from Arizona?" But honestly, I knew I was dealing with, I'll talk about this in a second. I knew I was dealing with a greatest generation person because he answered his phone, he returned his calls. I overnighted him a book because he was curious. And I called him mandatory to follow up, 24, 48-hour sales follow up. And I said, "Did you receive your book, Gordie, Mr. Kessler?" He said, "Yeah, I did. And I read it cover to cover. I think maybe even twice, not sure." He said he did, and he did a review of it. And this is within like 48 hours. This is when the mail was actually sent, like mail. Anyhow, so we ended up meeting physically, literally at a McDonald's in Chandler, Arizona. Shortly thereafter, to eyeball to eyeball, like a Greatest Generation and or a Boomer. I'll tell you about that a little bit more. He's a hybrid. Gordie Kessler is a hybrid, Greatest Generation and Baby Boomer. He's 1 foot in, 1 foot out, both. We get the
Oh
best of
yeah.
both generations.
Yeah.
So I determined he's 100 year. He's 100 years of knowledge and wisdom. Okay, so that's enough. Back to you, Val. Introduce Gordie. The birthday wishes are coming in. I've got Sheriff Mark Lamb and Janelle Lamb, who wished Gordon Kessler a great happy birthday. I have Captain James McCormick, Vietnam Vets of America, on behalf of hundreds of thousands of military vets. Happy birthday, Gordon Kessler. You're the man. You're the leader. You're the guy. So back to you, Val. Intro Gordie, because we're probably going to have to front load this a little bit because Gordie's on the schedule today.
Okay. Well, he is an Alberta hero. He is dangerous. I'll tell you why. Because if we can convince him today, Greg, to run, I will knock
Oh,
every door. Do not talk to me about door knocking. I have door knocking down pat. Like I'm talking thousands of doors. Like I am a machine.
Hmm.
I'm known to go out over all the holidays. I'm known to go to all the places and round the people up, all the places they say, oh, you can't do that. Oh, you can't go there. I go there anyway. So if we convince them to run, look out because everybody
Okay.
knows in Alberta his passion and who he is. Like he is a pillar. And so if I can stand alongside of him and get him to run again, look
Wow.
out, Alberta, Alberta 51. So without further ado, let us bring the great Gordon Kessler to the stage. Good morning. Gordon, how are you?
Good morning. That's quite an introduction. I wasn't aware I was all of those things.
We have you all. You always pay us a little royalty to say nice things about you, Gordie.
Yeah, all right.
No, but I'm telling you what. In case nobody knows, okay, what you have on the screen here. This is a feisty guy. Okay, I say this is my favorite rodeo guy and
That's all I
oil
am. I'm just a
oil
rodeo
rig.
cowboy.
Val just brought up something here with you being a leader. I don't really want to get into that yet, but just say hi to everybody. A lot of the people are not going to know you from anyone here, Gordon, but talk a little bit about yourself. Just go ahead, take the mic.
Well, my name's Gordon Kessler, and I thank you guys for having me on here. And I'd like to say hello to all your listeners, and I'm sure that they're gaining a lot of knowledge by tuning into your blogs. But it's good to be with you. A little bit of background. I was born and raised in southern Alberta and grew up rodeoing. Had a lot of family that were in the business, stock contracting. And so I spent a lot of time growing up around rodeo. And then I went to university in Utah, got a degree in biology and got certified to teach secondary sciences. And then I went to work on the drilling rigs and worked on the drilling rigs for a number of years. And then I started my own business in the oil and gas industry and had 16 guys that worked for me for about 20 years. I was in the business. And since then, I've written some books about my experiences in oil field spy. And I've written a book based on my rodeo background. So it's been a great journey. I got involved in politics during the Pierre Trudeau era. He was going to take a wrecking ball to Alberta's oil and gas industry. And being in the oil and gas business, I couldn't stand by and watch it happen. I'd never been in politics, but my dad was always interested in it and taught me that regulations destroyed the ability to be productive early on in my life. And I never forgot that, and I knew it was true. So I got involved in a short time as part of the world WCC. I ended up being in leadership positions and then went on to win the by-election in Old Tidbury in 1982 for the Western Canada concept. And so I went to Edmonton and found out that Peter Lougheed was exactly what I thought he was. He was a liberal, and he was more interested in interfering in people's lives than he was in free markets. So it's been quite a ride. After the election, I was harassed and intimidated by the RCMP, and my family was harassed and intimidated by the RCMP. I met with the U.S. consulate in Calgary, and they had a file on me about 4 inches thick, and I asked them where they got it. And they got it from the RCMP. They had pictures of me at every meeting. They had all of the people that were involved in those meetings. And so it's rather interesting times. The banks went after me and called my notes. And of course, Revenue Canada, they never miss an opportunity to harass people and try to destroy their lives. So they came after me and they tried to destroy my life. But interesting times. So I moved back to the United States. I thought that's enough harassment for me. And I could see the writing on the wall. Preston Manning picked up the baton as the Reform Party took our whole platform except separation, and he was going to make a difference in the world. He didn't do anything of the kind. He went to Ottawa and found out that they despised the West just as much, even though he was there representing the West. He wasn't able to accomplish the things that he set out to do. Harper wasn't able to accomplish anything for Alberta. Joe Clark betrayed Alberta. And so, you finally get to the point where you get tired of getting beat up and you make some changes. I've been an American at heart from the time I was a little kid, because we lived right next to the border and spent a lot of time in Montana. My greatest love is Alberta. I told somebody today, I said, I've got the Alberta flag tattooed on my heart, and I don't mean my chest, because I don't have any tattoos, but that's where I was raised, and that's where I experienced a great youth growing up. And I had many opportunities there until the federal government started trying to totally destroy the oil and gas industry. But anyway, I lived in Arizona for 30 years and loved the sunshine and the palm trees. But there's a by-election coming in Alberta for Olds Didsbury, the riding that I won. And I've been asked to get involved, and I'm going to do that. I've got a candidate in mind. He's an old Wild Rose organizer. They've got an organization. They got capital. He's a separatist to the core, and he's disillusioned with Danielle Smith's inability to get things done and stand up for Alberta, and always making concessions. She talks stuff, but she never goes that extra step to make sure that Alberta really has a secure future, because in Canada, they have no future, let alone a secure future. They have no future. They will continue to be serfs in a colonial system that's designed to keep them in line as serfs. So, yeah, Albertans have been a second-class citizens since before 1867. That's not going to change until they get out. Ideally, they become the 51st state, and I think that's what everybody should be working towards. So I'm a fan of the 51st state movement and appreciate all those who have worked so hard to try and get it to the forefront. And I will continue to advocate for 51st state. But in the meantime, I'm going to go to work for somebody that's fighting for independence. And from there, the next step hopefully would be 51st state. So anyway, that's my history in a nutshell. So people understand who I am a little bit better.
And you're sticking to it. And
yeah, if you get a chance, I just want to tell them, if you get a chance to read my books, they're fun. So they're kind of like Tom Clancy novels, lots of excitement in them.
They were great books, Gordie. Seriously, I read all 4. And they're fantastic. Go through really quickly. Just take a second. Again, a lot of our viewers don't know who you are. Just go through each book, what the title is, and where they can get it. Seriously, because they were great. I read every one. And Oil Rig Spies, man, you guys were rock stars. You guys were rock stars. Go ahead.
Oh, it was. I never went to work one day when I was in that business. Every day was exciting. And about 80% of the action in the books is based on actual events that either happened to myself or some of the guys that worked for me. I had about 16 guys that worked for me, and we spied on drilling operations on both sides of the 49th parallel. So we were pretty active. But the first one was Wolverine Hills, Espionage Scout. The second one, it's a little spicy, my wife tells me, is called Max, and Max is the main character all the way through. The last one in the trilogy is called Arctic Revenge, and that's my wife's favorite out of the trilogy. It's has a real good ending. And the last book I wrote is called Cowboys and Cadillacs. And because of my love and involvement in rodeo, it was just really, really fun to do. And it kind of took me down the path, grabbed a hold of me and said, this is where we're going. And it didn't matter what I wanted to do. It kind of led me to through the story, and turned out people in the rodeo industry loved the book. So, yeah.
I called you once because we're cell phone to cell phone guys, communications, right? We're older guys. I called
Right.
you,
Right.
and after I finished the Max book, these were great. I said, "You're Max, right? Right? You're Max," and you laughed but I want you to, and this is why we love live long form radio. I remember a lot of those stories. You tell our listeners one time where maybe you thought it was the end of it, where you were actually done or dead or captured or whatever. Just one quick story on that, and people will realize who we got on the screen here. Go ahead, Gordon Kessler.
Well, there's a story in, I think, the second books. I think it's in Max.
Mm-hmm.
And I was working way in northern Alberta, up by a place called Indian Cabins, which is north of High Level. And I was west of there. I was in the bush. It was about 60 miles back in that day to a landline. And there were no cell phones that worked. We had the old Motorola type phones, but if you didn't have a tower, they didn't work. So I was pretty isolated, and I was sent up there to spy on this drilling rig. And they were set up and being pretty careful. But I got in on an old cut line and got settled in and got hid. And I thought I was doing pretty good till one of the rig hands saw my tracks going down this cut line, and there were no tracks coming out. So they knew somebody was in there. That somebody was me. And so I had my scanners going, and I was monitoring the conversations from the rig, and I was able to get both sides of the conversation, the rig side and the city side out of Calgary. And they made mention that they knew there was a scout in there, and the guy in the city said, "We don't care what you have to do. You make sure he never comes out of there." And they didn't know I could hear what they were saying. So I got ready for them because I knew they were coming. And sure enough, about a half hour later, here came 2 truckloads full of roughnecks, and they got me kind of boxed in. And I thought about what I was going to do, and I had my boots on and my coat back on. I was sitting in my truck monitoring, and it was warm in there, but it was 40 below outside. Anyway, I got ready for them, and I had my trusty 300 Winchester with me, and I thought, boy, if you were ever able to act, this is a time to make it work. So when they got there and got out of their trucks and started coming towards my truck, I jumped out of that truck and pretended I'd lost my marbles to say, and I ejected a shell out of the gun and ran another one back in the breech. And the guy said to me, "What are you doing?" I said, I'm hunting coyotes. He said, "What the hell do you mean you're hunting coyotes?" I said, "Well, I'm out here hunting coyotes." And he said, "Ain't no coyotes around here." I said, "Oh yeah, there are." And I said, "They all showed up at once." And he said, "You threatening me?" I said, "I'm not threatening anybody." I said, "I just told you I'm hunting coyotes." He said, "You're nuts." I said, "Well, that's for you to decide." He said to his guys, "This guy's crazy." He said, "We ain't messing with him. He'd been in the bush too long." So they got back in their trucks, and they gave me a warning they were going to doze me in, so I'd freeze to death. It was 40 below, no way out, because I was parked on a dead end line, and a couple of 100 yards from where I was parked, it was a cliff that dropped straight down into the river about 40 feet. So they had me trapped. Anyway, I got out of there, and I got the information. I snuck back in the middle of the night and got all the information I needed. And when they flowed the well and tested the well, I was curled up in a sleeping bag in a snowbank about 50 yards from the flare pit and monitoring all of the activity. It was they were great times. I'd do it all over again. But my wife says that she's afraid I might go out there and have a heart attack and nobody ever find me. So
Well, the wife is always the smartest one of the
yeah,
group, right? Joyce, she's
mine
brilliant.
is, yes, mine is.
But
Yes.
it's better, honestly, it's better for your enemy to fear you and maybe think you're a little crazy. Seriously,
Well,
just think Ronald Reagan or Donald Trump, right? People thought Reagan was crazy.
it was
But
life or death. I had to try and do the Academy Award acting, you know. Thank heavens it worked, because otherwise I'd have been supper for some of the wolves in the area.
honestly, there's so many of those stories. I know Val, you've read his novels. Just read them. They're once in a million. I want to hijack my show a little bit here. Other than we'll put off the birthday wishes, okay? Because there's a million. You're the last person to bring attention to yourself, Gordon Kessler. So that's Val, and my job is to coo over you and bring attention to you, because you have a big birthday today. It's a birthday, May 14th, 1945. Anywho, but I want to.
Does that mean 69 today?
It means
59.
I
And
told you
I'm going to.
as a
I'm gonna
biology
interrupt
major,
Greg.
I wasn't a math major.
I want to interrupt Greg for a second, because while we're on this note of you talking about your life experiences, while you were hunting, etc., do you think that really helped prepare you for the world of politics in Alberta? I was going to suggest maybe I do a ride along with you. I'm not so sure about that. But at the same time, do you think all this was a preparation for you to enter the Wild West of Alberta politics?
I don't know if that contributed. It certainly helped me to be independent in my thinking, because you had to make quick decisions. Sometimes they were life and death decisions, and in order to get good information, you always had to be one step ahead of what was happening around you. And but I think, probably, when I think about it, my dad had the greatest influence on me. I remember my dad railing about the unfairness of the crow rate, and how it was so discriminatory towards Western producers. He hated government interference. He hated the quota system, absolutely hated the quota system, and despised the Canadian Wheat Board, because they deprived Alberta agricultural producers the right to market their grain at world prices. They always got a reduced price for their products. They were restricted from selling into other markets. It was a very dictatorial and suppressive system for agriculture in Alberta and Saskatchewan, of course, Western producing provinces. But when the news was on at the table, you didn't say much, because he was listening, he was tuned in. And so I learned a lot from him. He despised Pierre Trudeau because he understood that Trudeau was very, very bad for Canada. He knew that Pierre Trudeau was a Marxist, communist, if you will, and that regulations were intended to take away people's freedoms, and he didn't agree with any of that. So he really was the instrument that guided me in my my formative years, when I was very impressionable. And anyway, I was really fortunate. I had a great teacher, I had a great dad, and the things that he said, I learned well.
Gordon, if you would, quick minute here. We love fatherhood, mentorship, and also hockey on this show. You had a wonderful brief story about your dad with Val and I a couple of years ago on air. If you feel like it, taking a quick second there, just your story about your dad, whatever's on your heart.
Well, I don't remember the story that I told you. So there are so many.
No,
If you had known my dad, he was really a vibrant man, and he was really smart. You know, when you grow up as a kid, well, I knew my dad was smart because he was teaching me all the time, and I was like a sponge soaking it up. But I got called by I don't know if this is a story. I got called by a church leader one time, and he wanted to talk to me, and I wasn't going to church at the time, and he just wanted to talk to me, and found out that I was in his jurisdiction or ward at the time. He wanted to have a little visit with me, so I said sure. So I went in and sat down with him, and this guy was maybe the top heart surgeon in Canada, certainly Western Canada. His name was Robert Walker, and he was an amazing heart specialist. So we sat down, and he said, he said, I went to school with your dad. I said, oh, really? Yeah. Smartest man I ever knew. I said, what? He said, your dad's the smartest man I ever knew. If it wasn't for your dad, he said, I wouldn't be sitting here as a heart surgeon. I said, oh, really? It really set me back. Here's this heart surgeon telling me that my dad, who's a farmer, is the smartest man in the world. And really made me think I must have missed something. He said, your dad was a whiz. He said, he had trigonometry. He said, and I couldn't do trigonometry at all. He said, so he tutored me. And he said, he got me through trigonometry. He said, I passed with flying colors. And he said, I got my degree, matriculation, and I was able to go on to university. But he said, without your dad's influence in my life, he said, I wouldn't be here. He said, he might be the smartest and one of the best men I ever knew in my life. And that really makes you think about your dad and the things you didn't know about your dad. And so, there's just all kinds of stories about him. He was a really good farmer. He did everything in his head. He didn't have to write anything down. It just came to him, and he could do math in the fields and figure out acreages and all of that with never having a pencil and paper. He was just an outstanding guy, and he was really good to me. Took me hunting and fishing from the time I was old enough to hold a stick in my hand and put a line on the end of it. I've lost I can't hear you guys.
You can't hear us because we're on mute. We're just, I'm just so enjoying your stories. I love your stories. No matter what, we scheduled this for a 59-minute show, Gordon. Imagine that. And you have things to do. You have appointments.
I do.
But, right. But I do want to take a quick minute. I want to turn the mic to Val. I've been loving these fatherhood stories. By the way, the fatherhood story you had talked about 3 years ago was the one that's how you sadly lost him because of the medical system. Remember that? But honestly, what I would like to do, I'd like to declare a Gordon Kessler Part 2, another follow-up show. There's so much, and especially hard-hitting politics right now. There's so much. I can't look the other way. I'd love this to be just a happy little birthday show.
Yeah,
which it is. We got comments from all over the place, Gordon. But actually, Val, back to you for a minute or so, and then let's let Gordie take off again with the mic.
Yeah, I want to just give Gordie the mic. I hope he does go into the complete dumpster fire of our healthcare system, because that was the first time I heard that there actually was a system in place in Canada. There was a working system. So I don't know if you feel like getting into that, Gordie, but I'm going to hand you the mic.
Well, I will. I hear these people always talk about, yeah, but we have free healthcare. We have free healthcare. Hell, they don't have any healthcare. People are lined up in the queues forever, and they're lined up because the magic is if you keep them in line long enough, they're going to die, and you don't have to spend any money on them. And that's Alberta healthcare. That's Canadian healthcare. I had family that have made the trip down to the United States to get new knees and paid cash for it and had knees within. It took them 2 weeks to go through the pre-tests and all of that, and then all of a sudden they got brand new knees. $30,000 to have 2 brand new knees. Well, everybody says it's free in Canada, but when you figure out that taxes are about 30 or 35% higher in Canada, maybe higher now after Justin Trudeau, they might be higher, but let me tell you, they're paying dearly for their no health care program. So my dad had been struggling with his breathing for a little while, and both my wife and my wife had been in the medical industry, and she encouraged him to go and maybe get a second opinion and find out what was going on. Oh, he's all right. He said he knew he had a leaky valve. He had a valve problem, but he'd had it for a long time. So I went into the long-term care one night to visit with my mom, who was in long-term care. She had had a stroke, and while he was there, he wasn't feeling very good, and so he told the doctor. He said, "Doc," there was a doctor on call there. He said, I'm having a hard time breathing." He said, "I'm having a tough time getting my breath." And he said, "Well, come in tomorrow and we'll take a look at you." So my dad went in, and the next day, and they said, "Well, you probably need to have a valve replacement." He said, "We'll reevaluate that in 6 months and decide if we can do it." Well, I'm going to tell you right now, in America, in the United States, if you go in there and you can't breathe and you got a heart problem, it might be 2 hours later, they'll have you in heart surgery. They don't mess around with hearts. They take care of it. So my dad said, "Well, that's fine then." So he went home, and it had been a Chinook. For those of you who don't know what a Chinook is, it's a warm west wind, and it thaws everything out. It doesn't last very long, and then it freezes again. So there had been a Chinook overnight, and then it had frozen, and the garage door was frozen down. My dad went out there with a bar to break it loose and get the ice chipped away so the door would open. And anyway, he had went from there back to the hospital to see my mom for Sunday morning service. And when he got there, he told her he wasn't feeling very good. He wheeled her from church down to her room. And when he got to the room, he dropped dead with a heart attack. And they couldn't save him. So that's Alberta healthcare. That's Canadian healthcare. They send you home, even though you're walking a fine line between life and death. They still send you home. Healthcare in Canada is just another way to liquidate the elderly. It's euthanasia of the elderly is what it is. They put you on a waiting list, hoping that you'll die before they have to spend any money to take care of your health care needs, your new hips, your new knees, your heart, whatever it is. So anyway, I don't have a very good taste in my mouth for
Gordon,
a healthcare program that taxes the hell out of their people and then never provides a service. And that's what's going on in Canada. And I'll argue with anybody all day long about Canadian healthcare versus U.S. healthcare. U.S. healthcare, it's not perfect. It's not perfect. There are still issues with healthcare. I'm hoping that President Trump is going to iron some of those things out. But it is at least 1,000% better than what they have in Canada. And there is no doubt about it. So anyway,
Gordon,
that's my story.
We've talked about this so much via cell phone call, like older guys, where we communicate and talk healthcare and hip replacements and knee replacements, that kind of stuff. So we're boots on the ground, skates on the ice, knowledge of both systems. I lived under Quebec Medicare. And at the time, it was fine. 1960s and 70s, it was fine because it was doing, at least in my perspective, what it was meant to do. But then here we go. The only thing my message here, and I covered this a lot in my book, is there's difference between coverage and care.
Oh,
and this is the big branding. It's brainwashing. Okay. I mean, it is, but coverage, Canadian universal health coverage. We got our Medicare. We've got remember OHIP in Ontario. And there's a warm and fuzzy feeling to that. And I don't care what anyone says. It is a branding thing. It's an impression that people carry with them. And the truth is, you can have any coverage you want. The policy can list what's covered, but can you get the bloody care?
yeah.
Can you get an MRI in 24 hours? I was less than a week out on a hip replacement, had world-class care. Can you deliver the care? X-ray on the spot, no appointment. Hello?
Yeah.
And I've always joked, I don't care. I just can't believe how little Canadians know about the US system and how little Americans know about the Canadian system. Because the answer, no matter what, is for world-class care, timely, no waiting periods, be a US state, Alberta, and devise your own healthcare. Build it into the state constitution. That's the only thing I'll say on that. But there you go, Gordon.
Well, it's really interesting. You talk about how it was in the early '60s when they had Quebec healthcare, but
right.
We in Alberta we had what we called MSI, medical. It was a medical insurance, but it was privatized. It was owned. The doctors were the ones that were the backbone to MSI, Medical Services Incorporated. It was called. And it was a private insurance policy that you could get. And it was put together through the medical practice people like doctors and so forth. So I remember we're talking about my dad and the impression that he had on me and, the things he taught me. I remember, I think I was about 19 or so when MSI came out, maybe 20. And I went home and I was talking to my dad and he said, well, we're in trouble. And I said, why? He said, they're going to take MSI away from us. And he said, they're going to have government insurance, government health care. I said, well, why? It's not going to change. They keep telling us that's not going to change. He said, they're lying. He said, when the government gets involved in anything, he said, it always changes. I said, well, the premiums are going to stay the same. He said, yeah, for about a year. And then he said, watch what's will happen to them premiums. He said, once the government gets involved, he said, those premiums will skyrocket. And he said, they might not charge you premiums, but he said, we're going to pay dearly through taxes. And you remember my words. So he's a pretty sharp guy,
So I want to go back to when you were talking about your father. They wouldn't save him. Not that they couldn't, because they had a diagnosis. They knew what was wrong. They wouldn't save him. And those are the stories that are flooding my desk today. Is there's so many people in Alberta, you can't walk down the street without hearing they wouldn't do this. They wouldn't. And so there's a big difference between wouldn't and couldn't. And
Let me give you an update. So my brother, he was a year older than me, passed away last year. And my brother was a product of the government, not of my dad. He worked for the government. He was in the Navy, and then he worked in the prison system. And boy, if the government said something, it was law. So when the jab came out, I did everything I could to encourage my brother not to get the jab. I have a science background. I knew what mRNA was, and I knew if they're using mRNA and they're splicing mRNA into human genetics from other species, that it could only mean trouble. So I tried to talk him out of it. Well, he went and got the jab, and I got the second jab. He went in for a booster. He got the booster. He went home 4 hours later. He had a massive stroke. So they got him over to the hospital. And when he got to the hospital, he actually requested the clot buster that they use to lessen the effects, the paralytic effects of a stroke. And they literally told him, because he told me what they told him. He said, we're saving that for younger people. They refused to administer that clot buster. Consequently, he lost everything on his left side. And so he paid dearly. And this is a guy who gave 20 years of his life to the Canadian Navy, and they still refused to give him that clot buster. So that's Alberta healthcare. That's Canadian healthcare in a nutshell right there.
Wow. And I'm talking to people as recently as this week who are going in for appendicitis, or they have complications from diabetes, and they have MAID being shoved down their throat. Which MAID, for those of you watching, if you're watching from the US side, is medical assistance in dying. So that's where the government comes and holds your hand, takes care of the arrangements. It leaves with you dead. So there's no follow-up. There's no checks and balance.
It's murder.
It is murder. It leaves you dead. And if they're shoving down your throat that this is a solution to their system, where do we go next? How many lives have we lost? And again, this is at the hands of politicians. These are elected individuals. And
it's just an extension of abortion. If you can kill babies, it's not very hard to kill adults.
That's right. Gordon, I had read, and for all the wonks out there, check this out. But yes, Val is totally right. They're promoting in Saskatchewan, dial 5 for assisted suicide.
Yeah.
But your comments here, I had heard that Canada's leading the world in assisted suicide. Last number I heard was like by a lot, like 5,600 of them, whatever. Your comments there, it really bothers me. My accountant up in Montreal was 79, 80, and he was waiting for hip replacement for like 4 years. They were trying to wait him out so that he dies. They won't have to pay.
Exactly right.
I mean, and I'm saying, are you serious? I mean, you guys put up with that? He's an accountant, a CPA.
Yeah.
This was like a couple of years ago, Gordie. So your comments on that?
Well, you're absolutely right. That's what they're doing. They're just trying to wait them out so they don't have to spend any money on them. They paid into the system since they were 18 years old. And then when they need the system to step in and do what they've been paying for since they were 18 years old, they can't get the services. Yeah. They can't get the care. They can't get services or care. And, they're just waiting. And now, instead of just waiting them out and hoping they die, they're saying we can help you die. So it's a very, very corrupt, immoral, ungodly thing that they're doing in their healthcare system in Canada. It really is.
Gordon,
it's a real travesty. And, we talk about human rights. And, of course, the Liberals are champions of human rights around the world. But the humans that are next door don't have any rights. And that's kind of where it's at.
Gordon, we've talked about this a lot. I put it in the book. We've talked about it on air. But I believe with a market-based U.S. kind of delivered health care, there's some great programs, great medical groups down in the States, and there are up in Canada. But a mom should be able to have a health card. Okay, just like an EBT card or a debit card or whatever. She should be able to have a health card. And it be a direct pay system. If there's any funding from the federal government, or in this case, Ottawa, hopefully not Ottawa, but if there's funding, that's delivered directly to the parents, the family, and they have their card and they can choose what care, what delivery between providers. It's where competition gets into play. And that's where you get your 24-hour MRIs, but they should be able to go and have 3 or 4 different even providers depending on their kids. And you go in, here's my card. I've chosen this dentist. I've chosen this doctor. You can be with them for 20 years, but there's no charge or a really minor copay. No BS, no insurance stuff, whatever. We should be able to do that. And with Alberta 51, you could fund that easily. So the answer is AB 51, choose your own, develop your own healthcare from scratch and build it into your constitution. In the U.S., here you go. But in the U.S., it's been argued amongst conservatives that healthcare is not a human right. There's that argument, and it's a deep argument. But bottom line, in Canada, there is, and so combine both systems. Mom goes in, gets her care. Call 911, and you get an ambulance and professionals there and paramedics there. Your comments, sorry on that little mini rant. You got me passionate here about healthcare.
Well, I don't know if it's a human right. I think that as humans, we have a right to good care when we pay for it. That's the problem. We're paying a lot of money for good care, and because we're paying for it, we have a right to it. But here's how bad things are for Alberta, for instance. And you're right, Alberta 51 would have the greatest healthcare system in the world. And Albertans wouldn't have to be taxed to death to get it. But in Alberta, when the government suggested that they were going to move towards a private healthcare system, what did the federal... And this tells you that there's another agenda besides healthcare. Complete agenda. It's called control. They want to be able to control everything about your life, but especially your health. So in Alberta, when they said, well, we're going to go ahead and allow medical doctors to come up with a new system private and practice a new privatization system, what did the federal government do? First thing they did is said, well, that's fine. Then we're not going to pay for any of the Alberta health care that comes from Ottawa. So we're going to strip away any funding from Central Canada, even though you've paid us all this money in equalization, like $1 trillion. We're not going to send you any money for health care if you try and privatize health care in Alberta. I mean, that's all you have to know is there's another agenda besides health care, because the privatized health care in Alberta would have given a modern, updated care system to the people of Alberta, and yet they were deprived that. I think they've moved a little bit. Some doctors are able to practice a certain amount of privatized health care with their patients, but overall, federal government threatened Alberta, if you go there, we're going to strip you of any funding from the federal government, and that's just nonsense. And I'm sure Val knows that.
The files are piling up on my desk. We've got people joining from all over the place, but Alberta is fed up, and they're finally willing to say, we're going to talk about it. And I'm excited about that because there's two opportunities. One more sleep, gentlemen, until the king arrives.
There you go.
King Charles is coming. I don't think he has a clue what's happening on Crown land. I don't think he has a clue how he's being played for a fool by many politicians in the area. So I look forward. I've put an invite out there and let him know if he does want to drop in and just find out what's going on under his nose on Crown land. I've got numbers. I've got death stats for him. Like, the bodies literally are stacking up. Even the horses are stacking up, quite literally. So the king comes to town, and if that's not enough, I just also want to mention Friday that the U.S. ambassador to Canada, Pete Hoekstra, is inviting all of you out to come and rally in Ottawa. And this is your chance to see how the Constitution works, how the United States works. It's built on checks and balances. So if you are a fed up Albertan and you've had enough and you want to let the right people know what's going on in your world, I would say get to this rally, wear your Sunday best. It's called the Never Say Never rally. And I think it's time to really live up to our name as Albertans. We are made of grit and determination, and let it rip, ladies and gentlemen. That's what I say. I think if you get to Pete Hoekstra, who's the U.S. ambassador to Canada, and you start telling him what's going on, and you name names, talk about the health crisis, the dead body count that's happening in our province, how many men, especially ranchers, that are missing. We've got children that are dead or missing at the hands of our government because they're responsible. The government of Canada has a job to do. They take taxpayer dollars to know how many children are in their care, how many are missing or dead. And if you go back to 2023, I am still waiting for the minister responsible to give a solid total number of how many missing children or dead children are in Alberta government care. Once we put this in front of these politicians on the US side, they are contractually obligated to start a file and get back to you on things. So, you know what? I think if nothing else, we've got some big guests coming to town. The king is rolling in. That's the King of Canada, ladies and gentlemen. And whoever's face is on your money, that tells you who runs the show. So don't let politicians say, oh, Canada's free, because we're not free. This dude's face, okay, he's the King of Canada. He lives across a pond, and he's coming to a city near you soon. So if you have messages for him, deliver them to me. I'm trying to reach him. He's not an easy man to get a hold of, but have no fear. I'm not giving up anytime soon.
The sad thing is the emperor has no clothes, because if you go back and read the history of the BNA Act, he has zero authority. Somebody needs to send him the message, you're done, dude. You're toast.
Ladies and
you don't have any control, and it's been such a fraud for so long that everybody just keep buying into it. It's amazing.
You'll laugh, Gordie, with Val's last statement. Ladies and gentlemen, Val Olsen, right? Val Olsen. And by the way, Val, you've been really well behaved today. You haven't called any Alberta politicians a communist yet. So I'm proud of you for that. Good for you. Honestly, I was raised with Queen Elizabeth. Okay, in Dorval, Montreal, we would sing "God Save the Queen" to Elizabeth, but she really was an icon because she was more of a role model. We knew she wasn't involved in government, and she knew her place. She was a mechanic. She was a trained marksman. She rode horses. She loved to drive cars. Drove cars in her 90s. Gordie, but we knew who she was. This crew right here, don't even get me started, but I'm saying Charles is weighing in on U.S. politics. I'm saying, what the hell is he weighing in on U.S. politics? Mind his own business. The UK is a grease
He's a globalist nutcase. Anybody that espouses climate change policies, he's not in the world of the living. He just thinks he is.
The UK, just clean your own room, Charles. The UK is a grease fire right now. London, I'm brokenhearted for what's happening in London. I mean, right in front of our eyes. It's
There's nobody in England that speaks English anymore.
Oh, dude, but it's time. Gordon Kessler, Val Olsen, it's time that people stop looking the other way on this stuff.
Yeah.
Including especially these missing kids and the dark side that's going on of north and south of the border. I want to know. It's down to 320,000 missing unaccompanied minors.
Very sad. Very sad.
Saying, can you? One is too many.
Yeah, I love Val's passion for the missing. I love your passion.
Take the mic a little bit, and Gordie, because we've got probably 5-10 minutes if we want to stay on schedule.
I'm going to get out of here.
Oh, look at you! Overtime.
You guys, thanks, and tell Val how much I appreciate her passion for promoting the investigation into the missing youth and children and babies and the reckless pedophilia that's infiltrated our society, and she's on to it. She knows what's going on. And sadly, a lot of these things aren't being investigated because so many of the people that are in charge are part of the problem and involved in this stuff behind the scenes. So, we've got a lot of leaders who openly now support satanic rituals and all the rest of it. And of course, a part of that is mutilation and destruction of lives, especially babies and younger lives. So she's on to it, and I hope she keeps digging and turning over rocks because there's some snakes under them, and she's the right gal to find them.
Thank you, Gordie. Thank you for standing with me, and I stand with you. I know that Alberta has hope on the horizon, and you are here. You're leading it. You are our freedom warrior, and I stand with you all the way. It is your birthday today, and I want to send out some birthday wishes. Rosalind drops by to say happy birthday, Gordie. She is in Raymond. Also, Patrick Bates. He is a friend in Bymore, Alberta. He says happy birthday. And also Kelly McCormick, I believe, Oregon. Does that sound right? Yeah, I think so. I think he's in Oregon.
It's a
Joe.
lady.
Oh, well, she says happy birthday. And
She
Joe.
She was with a great friend of mine, Marty Woods, world champion bronc rider, and she was the best part of Marty's life for quite a while. Yeah, she raises wonderful quarter horses, and she's an outstanding lady. Yeah.
And also Joe Shirazzo from Calgary, formerly British Columbia. He says happy birthday. Diane Mickey as well. There is so many, Gordie. I'm just getting started. I don't know if I'll be able to get through the whole list of birthday greetings, but check them out. They're on Greg's Facebook page for you.
Well, I appreciate every one of them. It's nice to be able to have one to celebrate.
Again, you don't toot your own horn, Gordon Kessler. Seriously, you don't. The first wish of your birthday came from Arizona City, Arizona, the manager of our local car wash, Maria Tapia, who is a millennial, hard charging, 80-hour-a-week gal. She's the biggest fan of course, my radio and Val Olsen, and she knows you well. She's listened to a lot of your stuff. She says, wish Mr. Kessler a happy birthday. That's from Arizona City. Those are what makes being a leader worthwhile. Because I've always said, you are Gordie right now. I said, all great leaders are reluctant leaders. They don't need to be. They don't necessarily want to be. Captain McCormick knows what it's like to send hundreds of guys into battle.
Yeah, well, I don't see myself as a leader. I'm free. I'm like you guys. I'm a freedom warrior, and I'll do whatever it takes to preserve the freedom. I'm starting to get a little bit older. I'm 69, and so I'm going to survive whatever happens unless the RCMP take me out. But anyway, my concern is not for me, and it never has been. It's always been about future generations. I was always concerned about my children's future and my grandchildren's future. And I think we need more people to realize that, we need to put selfishness aside and do what's right so that our posterity have a better life than we've had, and that their freedom and their future is guaranteed. And that means making some substantial changes, including Alberta 51. Albertans need to prepare to pull the plug because they are in a very despotic situation with Mark Carney. He is a globalist thug. He has absolutely proven that his word is worthless. He's a liar. He has money hoarded and stuffed in offshore bank accounts, and I'm going to just say it. He was never elected. He was installed by the globalists, and they want Canada to be the crown jewel of the new globalist movement, and so they put him in there, and his job is to destroy Canada so that they can have, he was one of the architects of, you will own nothing and you will be happy. And that's what his goal is, to take away every single thing you have. And if you don't get the hell out of that situation, your children will have no future. And that's a fact.
Gordon, I knew, I try to keep in touch with my friends back east and stuff. And I knew a couple people from the Toronto area. Met Mark Carney the first time. I mean, literally just a quick reception. I'm talking months ago. Hi, totally endorsed Carney. And she's a pretty prominent person. Totally endorsed Carney. Went public saying Carney for PM. And I'm just saying, Did you guys research this guy or anything before you totally endorsed him? I won't get into it, but the liberal thing up there and the Democrat, the hardcore Democrat thing right down here. There's going to be transparency and there's going to be justice, I believe, in 2025, 2026. But either way, touch on that a little bit more. I was stunned to see the support, the unconditional support for Carney from back east without you do any research, So go ahead, Gordie.
Well, that tells you all you need to know. They, power is an intoxicant, and so many people, once they get a little bit of power, they just want more and more and more. I think there comes a point where the money isn't so as important as the power. But for Alberta to have contributed almost $1 trillion basically to Ontario and Quebec economy since the inception of the equalization project. And then for those people to see the trampling of Albertans' rights and then still vote for Liberals, it's just amazing to me that they have such little concern for the rest of Canada. And I think, it tells people in Alberta the message is there. They don't need you. They don't need your input. They need your money, right, but they don't need your input. And so with that kind of disrespect coming out of Ontario and Quebec for all that Alberta has contributed over the many, many years to Confederation, it's obvious they expect you to continue to be second-class citizens, and it's time to end that relationship. You cannot continue in a relationship where you are abused day after day, year after year. It's time to get out.
And Gordon, everybody, there's a lot of lamenting out there, a lot of complaining out there day by day by day. But the question I always ask is, so what do we do? Okay, so what do we do like today? And the answer is everybody up in Alberta, anyone who's independence minded, be it Western independence, be it Alberta 51, or any variation thereof, okay? The United States doesn't understand what's going on up there because there's so many groups. And so again, all well-intentioned, good-hearted people. But as far as the United States goes, because we're watching really close, as far as I'm concerned, every group up there, all of you, you're all great people, knowledgeable people, good people, Alberta people, educated people. You all need to get together. Just get together. And you need to ask yourself one question now. And I mean one question. And that's this. If you had no other choice, would you choose Ottawa Confederation or Alberta USA, Alberta 51? Meaning dual citizenship for your kids, your grandkids, your great-great-grandkids. Nothing changes up there other than you get to live under the Constitution and the protections of the Bill of Rights. But you need to do that. And as a people, answer that question. Because the answer is yes. Here you go. Here's the scoop for you, Gordie. Here's the scoop. I would include the Northwest Territories. Get this. I love this. The Northwest Territories, people don't know it. They'd love to be part of this conversation. They'd love to be able to vote in a referendum. There's 44,000 people. Call it under 50,000 people. They're 80% yeses. And there are nuances there. But if you can gather under that question, because I still know what the answer is going to be. It's going to be yes over Ottawa. Period. That's it. And you appoint as your interim spokesman, honorary leader, L. Gordon Kessler. You don't have to go and pound the pavement anymore, Gordie. We got Val for that. You can sit there just like you are today. Look at you. And look at what the stuff we're bringing on air again today. United States of America. We would like to know if an up or down question were asked of the people. By the way, I love that magazine article with you there, Gordie, from 1980, 82. But the
Yeah.
people, what do the people say? If given a choice, Canada, Ottawa, the King, it is what it is.
I want to go back
Or USA.
to one thing you touched on, and that's all these different groups. And I want to liken it to a little bit of a Western analogy here. We've got a half a dozen different groups, and they're all pulling in a different direction. It's like hooking 6 horses to a plow, and every horse has an idea to go a different direction. And as long as you have 6 horses and they're all wanting to go a different direction, the plow doesn't move. It just doesn't move because there's no forward motion. Everybody's going a different way. And so I would plead with the Alberta Prosperity Project and these other Wexit and all these other independent groups to get together behind one group in this Olds Didsbury by-election. And we have to start somewhere to get to AB 51. First thing is we have to get somebody in a position where they can voice our concerns and get the attention of all Albertans. And so there is, and I like it because I like the name to start with, but they've got organization, they got money. The Alberta Republican Party, what a great name, the Alberta Republican Party. They're already part of the United States. You can tell by their name. And they're going to run a candidate in Olds Didsbury. And if Albertans want to send a message, they need to converge on that riding of Olds Didsbury, and they need to make history again. We made history in 1982. It's time for Olds Didsbury to step up and make history again and send a message that will resonate across Alberta. It will resonate across the United States. It will be the headline of every newspaper that Alberta wants out. They've just elected a member of the Alberta Republican Party who wants Alberta to become the 51st state. And so I would encourage you to come together, work together, because otherwise you're not working for the future of Albertans if you can't do that. So anyway, I've probably taken more of your time than I should have, but I've really enjoyed it. And I want to thank both of you for your hard work and all that you do to promote Alberta independence and 51st state. We need more people like you guys that are willing to step up to the plate. And I know, Val, it's been a real challenge for you. You've had to overcome some real hurdles and some roadblocks to get where you are. And you've really persevered, and I appreciate that greatly. And the other guy, he's just an old Gretzky hockey fan. He's the only guy I ever talked to that played scrimmage hockey with Wayne Gretzky. What a lucky guy.
It wasn't scrimmage. Scrimmage is you're out there on a pond. This was in Scottsdale. It was at the Ice Den in Scottsdale. Okay, I don't care what you say. It's an old guys camp, right? Old worn out retired hockey guys. I'm saying no. We played 5 full hockey games in 4 days. With and referees and trainers. We needed trainers by the last day. We were dropping like flies. But
I had no idea you were a traitor. Now I know. You're wearing a Rangers hockey jersey.
Every year Wayne would do a different theme. That was Rangers that year, but he's had the Canada jerseys and all that stuff. I was not a Rangers fan, whatever. But the cool thing about
we know you're a Hab through and through.
That's the thing. Honestly, I kid you not. This is Secrets from the Inside, episode 0034. Wayne Gretzky. I'm just telling you what. Remember I told you up in Bremerton, Washington, building my ice arena. Get this. They didn't know who Jean Beliveau was. Didn't know who the Montreal Canadiens. Oh my God, Val, you're amazing. Didn't know who Jean Beliveau was because Beliveau said, "Hey, this guy is building this rink for his community and his kids. He supported it, but no one in Bremerton knew who Jean Beliveau was. Kid you not. So I said to my marketing guy, I said, well, everybody knows who Gretzky is. Could we get Gretzky? Could we just have Gretzky love our, again, he loved, honestly, seriously, Gordie, it comes from the heart. Wayne loved our youth hockey, trying to grow the sport. He just loved
Yeah,
that from
he's
kids.
a
Blah,
good
blah,
man.
that's just
Yeah.
the way it goes. So, but the thing is, the only reason Gretzky called me was because he looked up to Jean Beliveau and Gordie Howe. So the
That's my
moral of the
man.
story. Oh, you're a Detroit Red Wings fan. Another
Oh,
secret
I
from
was a
the
Gordie
inside.
Howe fan.
I got that out of you in 2 minutes on our cell phone 3 years ago. You're a Detroit Red Wings fan almost by default. Like who could
Gordie
cheer for
Howe
the?
and Sawchuk.
Oh, dude, I knew all those guys.
Yeah.
Not you personally, but they were amazing. Roger Crozier, first MVP in the playoffs. But they didn't win. But he still got the MVP of the playoffs. Anyhow, Detroit. But I got that out of you in 2 minutes talking on the phone, and that's what it's about. But the bottom
I'm
line,
an easy mark.
I was going to the top by talking to you, Alberta leader. I was going to the top when I contacted Gretzky. It's amazing what happens that the most simple, clear, powerful conversations and movements can start with just a cell call amongst the right people. I encourage
Yep.
Albertans, okay?
Well, I got to get out of here.
Yeah. I encourage all Albertans to follow Gordie's work and his example. Get together on a yes AB51 if no choice. I want to hear that number. Val, back to you. Gordie, thank you. Happy
Yep.
birthday.
Love you guys. Have a
Love
great
you
day.
too, man.
Take care.
I love
Happy
you, Gordie.
birthday.
Happy birthday. Enjoy your day. I'm gonna sign you out. Happy birthday. Oh wow. Gordie is awesome. What a treat to have him here today and joining. And we just wish him a wonderful day. And that's some exciting news he let us in on with the by-election that's coming up. And I loved that analogy. Did you catch that, Greg, where he said, all these different groups that are going 6 different ways, it's like a horse, right? You can't expect the horse to pull the cart when you've got all these different groups going in the wrong direction. So
Sure.
I think that's important to come back to, is take that. Yep. Gordie's been doing this for a long time. So when he speaks, we listen. We do have Christine in the queue. Christine is a good friend of mine, and she is a friend of Alberta. She lives in Alberta, and she's very, very active. And so she said, Val, is there any way I can call into the show? And I said, I think that is just fine. We would love to have you. So she's going to wait until we can bring her in, unless right now we have a minute break. Can I bring her in real quick?
Sure, go for it. Would love to see. God love Christine, her efforts behind the scenes and everything else. This is ad lib. This is unscripted, uncensored, uncanceled, undocked, unswatted. But I'd love to say hi to Christine. One thing, and I did want to text you here, Val. I want to probably wrap everything, if I can, by like 30 minutes after the hour.
Yep, we can do that.
Normally, because this was scheduled till we're 15 minutes over time, which is no biggie. I'm seeing part 2 here. Okay. Yeah. This is amazing stuff. This is headline stuff. This is busting news stuff. But one thing I would require of Christine when we get her on screen is that she gives a happy birthday to Gordie Kessler, because that's what we're here for. It's a birthday party.
Yes. Go ahead, Christine.
There you go. Just bring her in.
Good morning, Arizona. Mr. Meekin.
Christine. Christine, love to hear your voice. This is like the old days. This is like live radio, Christine. We have Christine on the line. God love you. It's nice to talk to you and meet with you. Go ahead, take the mic here for a minute or two. You got me and Val sitting here listening to you.
Good morning, boss.
Good morning.
I must say this is my first time on a live show in my life. So thank you so much for the opportunity. It's amazing. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I wanted to say happy birthday to Mr. Kessler. May God bless you wherever you go. May his hand shine upon you. You're blessed in and you're blessed going out. And I want to say thank you, team, because you guys, I know you're working behind the scene and you're doing a lot of the mental work and the emotional work behind the scenes for Alberta 51. And many people don't appreciate it. Many people don't know, but you guys are warriors. And you're the few who are standing and making a path for Albertans' freedom. We really appreciate you here for those who know what you're doing. And I'm so grateful. And Val, I'm glad you mentioned about the missing kids, because the truth of the matter is, if the blood is not dealt with in the land, the earth is crying out. The blood has a frequency, and these children needs justice. So keep fighting, keep bringing it up, and don't stop. Don't stop. You've reached too far. Too far. You can't go back now. So keep going, keep fighting. Victory is just around the corner. So hang in there, okay? Just hang in there. God
Thank
bless you.
you.
I love you guys. I love you, really do. And
Love
I'm
you
from
too.
Jamaica, by the way.
Christine, I'll tell you what, we're going to have you on. We're going to have you on future shows. Even if
Appreciate
you
that.
do the best drop in. Is that really your first drop in live?
My first in my entire life, brother.
Well, goodness. Okay, there's a first for everything. That's the most important thing. You'll always remember this. But I don't
Yes.
want you to go right quick. Are you able to hang
Okay.
for just a minute or two?
Yes, please. I can.
Because I want to ask you a few questions.
Okay, sure.
Val loves this. She's smiling. She knows. Like, timing's everything, Christine. Timing's everything, Christine. But there's a number of things I want to hear from you, but most of them probably for another show.
Okay.
Because I do really believe, and especially listening to Gordon Kessler, he can't wish happy birthday to himself for $1 million. He just wants to help the people of Alberta be free. That's what he
Yes.
wants to do. And
Yes.
he can't do it. He can't not do it. And you are one of those people, Christine. And you're a deeply, deeply connected, passionate person who also has been behind the scenes for basically the 3 years that I've been present on the AB 51 scene. I hear wonderful, great things about you. I love your accent. That Jamaica thing you got going. That's great.
Yes. Born and raised.
Oh, this is great.
But I love
great.
America. And I love Alberta.
I just want to ask you one question, because silly question. Are you like a dual citizen, or are you international that way, or?
Yes. I guess according to the laws of Canada, I am a dual citizen, but I don't have
We'll leave that
a
for
Jamaican
another.
passport.
We'll leave that for another show. But my question to you is, I would describe you as a really, really connected outside observer.
Okay.
That as much of the inner workings that you work under the scenes, I can't even get into it. It's so complex and it's so life changing, and lives are on the line. But I want to ask you as an outsider.
Yes, please.
Because I see the Alberta thing, the Alberta 51 thing, as much simpler than other people think, and that people in Alberta or Canada think it could happen. I was taught many, many years ago in 1984, 85, that if you're not going to go big, don't go at all. Big things happen.
Yes.
Stuff happens. And that's been my feeling as an outside observer. You have seen so much that has happened in the past few years in terms of the AB 51 movement and all the others thereof. What do you think, and what would you say to Albertans as an outside observer, that can they do it? It's called a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal that could never happen. Nothing could happen. Mark Lamb says, we were told we were never able to fly. We're flying now. What do you say, and what encouragement do you give the folks in Alberta who were literally, we know, are really disenfranchised, and their voices aren't being heard? I think there's 1 million of them, disenfranchised Albertans. Mike, back to you. You just go ahead and take the mic here.
Pardon. Definitely, 1,000,000%. When you know your history, when you know who controls you, you see, the thing about lies is, if you tell it long enough, you will believe it as truth. Okay, so there are many lies over the past 3 years that I've discovered about Alberta. And so when I realized, I was so shocked. We didn't have a constitution. We're just part of the Dominion of Canada. We are owned by an outside entity, an outside government, by the king. Who is on your money? Isn't the Queen of England who's dead? And there's this King Charles, whatever it is. Not my king. In Jamaica, we're under the British system. We are owned by an outside entity. And Canadians are saying, oh, we don't want to be part of the United States of America. Hello? We don't want to be owned by an outside country. Well, you're already owned by another country.
That's right.
The King of England owns you. You have no rights. You can't even own land. With the US, you can own your own land. You can own your own body. So the truth is, people need to not be afraid of questioning things and wonder, could it be true? They need not be afraid of investigating. There's always angles. And the truth is, it's going to happen, whether people like it or not. It's going to happen. It's on its way. Every person needs to be free. Slavery is not about, shackles on your physical body, but what about shackles in your mind? And it starts with truth. We need to start speaking truth and educating people, because your politicians are not going to tell you the truth, because they have their hand in the cookie jar. And yes, there's going to be a fight, but we need to grow a backbone. Think about your kids and your grandchildren. If you want things to change, you have to engage. And there's too many lives on the line. Too many lives on the line. And I hate to see the direction that things are going right now. And it's not for the benefit of Albertans. As a matter of fact, it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart.
Christine.
Too many people are dying. I think, Val, we were talking the other day about in Calgary, there's a million plus people. And I think 19,000 died.
Yeah, many people aren't aware because a lot of the news is censored, but I subscribe obviously to RCMP channels, Statistics Canada. And so when I was looking the other day, just in the course of the last year, numbers released were showing how many males had died in Edmonton and how many in Calgary. And it was 10,000 in one city and just under 9,000 in another. And I mean, these are dead men. So if you want to look at it from like a protection standpoint, these are Alberta men. And a few years ago, our national news was covering, even in the United States, they said men in their 50s in Alberta, of all the spots on the planet, are dying at an alarming rate. What's happening in the province of Alberta? So we really are seeing something to do with death, whether it be children or if you want to highlight men so often in Canada, if you're a white man, look out, because you have no rights, there's no value put on you whatsoever. And so I've really been doing some deep dive, some investigative work on why the target on a certain age range of men, of Native men in Alberta. So, this is a real problem. There's something going on here, and we need to be able to go to the faces of the politicians. And you, Christine, are a former candidate for, you ran in the federal election in Canada. You're actually a former candidate for the Christian Heritage Party. So you are someone, thank you for serving and rising in your community, but you're someone that is not afraid to go face to face, toe to toe, and get some of these stats on the books with politicians. And neither am I. Neither is Gordon Kessler. Neither is Greg Meekin. So these are some discussions we need to have. What's with all the dead, dying people? You can't have a country to rule over if everybody's dead or dying. Like what's happening here? So from a human rights standpoint, international law standpoint, all eyes are on Alberta, and there's only so many power people. There's only so many people who can sign their names and make these decisions. And when the bodies are just stacking up, justice is coming. That's all I can say. Justice is on its way, and it's riding in on a white horse with an American flag. That's not Saudi Arabia I'm talking about.
Hey,
I'll give
Christine.
you a report there later.
Yes, hello.
Hey, Christine.
My sound has been warbled. I don't know what happened.
Okay. Can you hear me now, Christine?
I can hear it, but it's still warbled.
Okay. So I don't sound like Mr. Midnight as usual, right? It's just a little warble there. Anyway, I had one question for you. I thank you deeply for coming on. I thank Val Olson for facilitating that. I invite you back, okay, to another broadcast down the road.
Okay.
There's stuff that we're talking. It's literally just an hour and a half into the show, and there's stuff that's been covered in this show that is really international breaking news and stuff that we should be looking at. I want to close out here a little bit. I would like to ask you one final question as you sign off, and that would be: do you think the cavalry's coming? Do you think it's going to be better? Do you think AB 51 might be AB 51? Do you think we're going to get transparency and justice? What does Christine think?
Sorry, could you please repeat or text me? Can you please repeat the question? They have interference on the line.
I'll let you run with that, Val, to just
I'll sign off. Christine, thank you for joining the show today. I'm going to sign you out. I'm going to answer that question for you, so I'm signing you out. So Greg, you said, is the Calvary coming? Right. And I truly believe it is. I don't know if I told you, but one of my contacts is actually from Saudi Arabia originally, and related to royalty over there. And she's just been sharing with me long before what we're seeing happen in Saudi Arabia go on, but just saying that the concept of justice for all and human rights is a top priority. And so, we're watching over there right now with Trump and with the Saudi king and what's going on. Like, what do you think of that? I mean, I'm watching it unfold, and I'm just like absolutely blown away with this show of respect. Look at this.
This is yeah, you want to mute that.
Yeah. That's the king, or sorry, that's the king of Saudi Arabia, Prince, I should say, and Donald Trump. Purple coming off the airplane, and a total break of culture, and just showing respect to the United States. What do you have to say about that?
Isn't it great? Everybody tells me, even the smarty pants people with multi-college degrees back east, they tell me this is the way it's supposed to work. That's what they tell me. We have differences amongst us. We have differences amongst countries and cultures, blah, blah. But we're supposed to find common ground, get together, shake hands, and as I say, go hit the rink together. Maybe even punch each other in the nose and go have a beer after the game. This is what I'm hearing is supposed to be, and what he's doing over there, and he's doing time after time after time after time. So he's managing it as his CEO, meaning you follow the 80-20 rule of life. I mean, most people do. Trump knows that 80% of people in the world want us to work together towards a common mission, common goal, that we agree on more things that we don't. And that the 20% is what we all argue over. And so I'm just calling the 20%ers right now that want to throw a wrench in good things and critique stuff. You're the peanut gallery, man. What you say doesn't matter anymore because you lost. Okay. But everybody tells me this is the way we're supposed to run it. We're supposed to run it like a business, like a CEO would. I've been hearing this since the 70s and 60s, more like a business. How about Doge? If anyone's not following the Doge tracker, you're behind on your homework. It's a complete dream of anyone who wanted to see their government managed properly. And the naysayers will say, yeah, whatever. Anyone who's a critic of Elon Musk right now, okay, go build your own spaceship. Okay. Go build your own number one car company in the world. I can't believe it. Tesla. Yeah, go do your own. Okay, he's a really smart guy. Okay, but Doge is phenomenal. It was 165 billion last I looked. 65 billion off our projected spending. All waste, all garbage, all stuff you don't need. And all of a sudden I'm telling you what, this is a show unto itself. We've got, think of this word, surplus. We had the first time since around 2021, a surplus in spending in the treasury. What? I think the number was like 358 billion or something, 258, big number. So we get to choose what we're going to do with that. We're going to put it against the national debt, whatever, but it's called a surplus. You can do it. So there's a little baby rant. And the answer to that question, I think what Trump's doing, and I don't care if people disagree with his style. I don't care. I don't want to hear it. He's changed the complete international economic axis of the world. It's an old business principle. It's called, people know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Speaking of Canadian culture. But in American business, I learned this in the 80s. If it ain't broke, break it. Because ain't nothing good. Ain't nothing runs like a Swiss watch, okay? So if it ain't broke, break it. So that's all Trump did on November 5th.
Yes.
So,
ladies and gentlemen, that's Greg Meekin. If it's not broke, break it. I have been trained by the official best.
Cheers, Val, to you. You take it out. Yeah. You take the show out. God love everybody. Remember, wake up in kindergarten every day. There's so much to learn and so little time. Because before you know it, you're in grade 1. Val Wilson, back to you.
Yeah, that is my mentor. If it's not broke, break it. So Alberta, I come with peace and goodwill, and I come on a white horse named Justice, not Nugget, because Nugget's dead. Nugget is one of the 30-some horses that remain shot, dead, mutilated, murdered. One of many crimes happening on Crown land that remains unsolved. And where I come from, I know how to clean a house. And that's what needs to happen in Alberta. So I know the president of the United States is in Saudi Arabia, but I think a trip to Alberta is in line. I think a trip to Canada is in line. And I think that the United States is well informed on what's happening. But if you are on the right or the left or the middle or the in-between, or you don't really know where or what, you have some personal issues that need to reach the very top, I'm with you. I like to go to the top too. That's why I've left a line open for the King of Canada to join the show. Fortunately, he wasn't able to. That's okay. I'm not going to give up. Friday is a new day. Okay. The King arrives Thursday. Friday, the U.S. ambassador to Canada is reaching out to you folks at home saying, join the Never Say Never rally. Okay. Canada, the 51st state. That's happening in Ottawa. So this is the G7 Business Summit. This is all about talking about what economically needs to happen. Not just economics, okay? Because we can talk about, like Greg said, all the dollars and cents and millions and trillions and billions and quadrillions. But before that, there is right and there is wrong. And having a moral standard and a kicking stick to measure with is important. In Arizona, our sheriff here, Sheriff Mark Lamb, who's on a much larger scale now, fighting the good fight, he has a saying here, fear not, do right. And I know when I first came here to the United States, I really took that on and I was like, what if I just say what's right? What if I just do the right thing? And everything else just might work out. Like everybody just does what they're supposed to. That is the foundation of what's being rebuilt here. And so I leave that with you as we head out. All you have to worry about in this is not having fear. Do not fear your government, okay? I know you, Canada. I know that you're afraid that if you say something, they're going to throw you in jail. But guess what? I checked. I did an actual, how many jail cells do they have? How many of us can they house in there? Like, I took the whole thing apart. They cannot put us all in jail. All right? I promise. So you just get out, fear not, do right, stand proud, know that the United States still stands. That flag is still flying. Checks and balances still work. And get excited because you have China on one side of you and you have freedom calling you on the other. So if you think Canada isn't broken, it is about to break. All right? It's happening. Canada 51. And you know what Canada 51 means to you at home? More money in your pocket, less oppression, better air, better water, and checks and balances. You're going to get healthy, you're going to get restoration, and you're going to dream again, because that's what it's about. It's time for hope and dreaming. That's what life in the United States is all about. So this is Secrets from the Inside. I'm Val Olson and Greg Meekin. Mike, back to you. If you want to close us out, you just go right ahead.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for tipping the mic back. Normally I sign off. I thank you from the bottom of my heart, Val Olson. You did once again a fabulous job of facilitating a rapid deployment, time change at the last minute because of scheduling. From the bottom of my heart, I thank you. I've had a little bit of separation anxiety disorder now working with you for a couple of weeks because it's really, really good. It's really, really good. I deeply thank and wish a happy birthday to Gordon Kessler. Like I told him late last night, I said, I don't care, because he was hesitating. All leaders are reluctant leaders. He was hesitating and saying, no, I want you on. Seriously, because you never know when it's going to be your last one. You know, and no matter what, if this is Gordon Kessler's last one, which it won't be, he'll be around a long time. This is really good. We learned who he is, and not just the politician who's great, but the man he is, and the father he is, and the son that he was. So I deeply thank Gordon Kessler for his knowledge, his red meat, his really, really inside scoop, and for showing us who he is. Special thanks, cameo appearance thanks to Christine. It's so nice to connect and hear someone's voice, you know, and she has a lot to say. She has a lot to give. She has a lot to bring to the table. She's a unique outside observer. I used to say, forget the 30,000 foot view, forget the 100,000 foot view. I wrote about that. There's the Buck and a Half Club. That's the 150,000 foot view. That's a Christine. So I thank her deeply. I look forward, as I say, thanks for the mic back. I get to hog my mic here. But to everybody, please follow our stuff, follow Val, follow Gordie, all that stuff. And visit my YouTube channel, which is Greg Meekin. Imagine that. Big fun numbers there. You know, I did my research. You know, there are over like 50 clips about Gordon Kessler on that YouTube channel, and probably 3 full shows. So thanks to everybody. Once again, kind of blabbing, closing things out. God love everybody out there. We've been kind of void of comments today. We haven't been heavy in the chat because there's so much red meat. We had to hear everything Mike-wise that Gordie had to say and Christine had to say. So we'll be replatforming this, relaying this, and we'll be back again, kind of live on comments, because we'll be watching comments for this next week as they roll out, because we've got really, really, call it clippable stuff this week, and we haven't even touched other stuff, Val. Look at that. I'll do our extra. Thank you, everybody. And if you want to give a final thank you blessing to Val Olson, let's take it out here. Thanks, everybody. God love you guys.
Thanks, everyone, and we will be back. That's Secrets from the Inside.
First, there was Dueling Citizens. Now, Secrets from the Inside. Author Greg Meekin nails it again. Introducing Secrets from the Inside Radio Show. Raw, Unscripted, uncensored, uncanceled. Secrets from the Inside starts now.
You got me headed to the left, headed to the right, headed back and forth, but baby, it's alright. You got me going to the east, going to the west, going up and down, cause baby, you know best. All day, all night, running around, I'm never gonna stop because you never settle down. You got me shooting into space, flying at the sun. I'm never coming back 'cause baby